Right, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so our final review of the day is going to be for The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid is another movie in the long line of Disney remakes that they've been doing of their classic animated films. And this one is Little Mermaid, back all the way is a remake from the 1989 animated film, which basically kicked off the huge Disney renaissance of animated films. It brought them back basically from, they were kind of going in the poorhouse a little bit. They were about to shut down Disney animation. They were like, this doesn't make money for us. We're about to quit. And then Little Mermaid came along, and it started the ball rolling. After Little Mermaid, you saw other movies like Mulan, Aladdin, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, which was nominated for Best Picture. So it kicked out a huge new line of this renaissance of Disney. And like I said, they've been doing a lot of remakes of their classic Disney films. As all the movies I've just mentioned, they did remakes of them, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King. They already fucked up my thing, The Lion King. That was kind of one of my favorite Disney movies. So they already fucked up that one. Mm-hmm. And then you had things like Beauty and the Beast, things like Pinocchio, Peter Pan and Wendy, which they did, Aladdin. And a lot of people usually are pretty negative on these Disney remakes. A lot of people have very negative opinions on them. They think they don't do any of the animated movies justice. They're just a poor imitation of them. And for the most part, I agree. I haven't really liked any of the Disney remakes. The only one I've really liked is one, and that is Jungle Book. I love Jungle Book. I think Jungle Book's fantastic. I do really, really like that movie. But that's pretty much it. All the other ones can go in the trash, can go in the garbage. I think they're pretty bad. And yeah, I mean, I agree. They fail to capture the magic of the animated version when it comes to everything, the voice performances, the music, everything like that. Now, is that going to be the case with Little Mermaid 2023? Well, we'll see. So, like I said, if you don't know the story about Little Mermaid, it's basically a simple story. You have a girl named Ariel, who in this is played by Halle Bailey, and she's obsessed with the surface world. You know what I mean? She wants to go to it. She's constantly fascinated about it, learning more about it. And eventually that kind of her to make a terrible deal, and that is with Ursula, who is a sea witch. And Ursula is this who's played by Melissa McCarthy, and says like, well, listen, I'll let you go on the surface world, make a deal. I get your voice, you get legs, you get to go up on the surface world, meet the prince that you saved from the shipwreck, and get to see what the human world is all about. A person who's constantly warning her and telling her about the surface world is her father, who's King Triton, who's in this is played by Javier Bardem. He's saying like, you know all you need to know about the surface world, you don't need to go there, and she's constantly a headache for him, and that makes kind of Sebastian in this, who, do you know who voices Sebastian in this?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't.
Okay. Which leads Sebastian is like, hey, keep a close eye on her, keep a watch on her. And you have the other, kind of animal friends in this that you'll usually see in a Disney movie. You have Sebastian the Crab. You have the character who's voiced by Awkwafina. It was, what was that character's name? I'm blanking on the name right now. But the bird that's voiced by Awkwafina's character.
Yeah, the bird. I forget she's voiced by
Awkwafina. That's
a replacement from the original.
Yeah, it's voiced by Awkwafina. David Diggs plays Sebastian. There. And then you also have her friend Fish there, who's Flounder. And one of the things about this being like it trying to, basically taking it animated and basically making it live action, they look like real animals. They look like a crab. It looks like a real flounder fish. It looks like a real bird. So that kind of will take you out a little bit of it. It's the same thing with like Lion King, where it's just like you have these realistic looking animals, but they can't make the same expressions that animals can in animated, because animals aren't human, so they don't have the expressiveness of that. And so when you try to make it kind of live action, trying to bring that to it with these realistic animals, like this kind of this doesn't work so much, and kind of looks kind of creepy. Scuttle, that was the name of the bird, voiced by Awkwafina. Scuttle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, so that's kind of the setup there of this story, Little Mermaid. I will say right off the bat, Halle Bailey, she is the if you're going to see it for any reason, it's her. I think, she does embody a very, I would say, princess like nature about her, because she's a very beautiful woman. She kind of has even when she loses her voice, it's just cute to kind of watch her, watch her on screen. And I think the camera really loves her. And also, it's good to have somebody who's in this who can actually sing, because sometimes they'll put actors in these roles, like Emma Watson, who she was in Beauty and the Beast, and she's kind of just like talk singing. Here, she's really singing. She's really belting it out. And I think this is kind of one of the better. I mean, it's still not as good as the animated version of it, but like I said, when these Disney remakes, they fail to capture the magic when it comes to the animated version. I will say this is one Disney remake where I feel like when they do the musical sequences, it actually is kind of close. I actually was like, these actually are pretty good. They're pretty well done, I thought. Quite a bit of them. There's even like a new song that kind of gets introduced in this, who Scuttle does, who's voiced by Aquafina. And it kind of taps back into Aquafina's roots in it when she tried to be black, and she kind of does like a rap song in it. And actually, I was like, usually the newer songs in these when they try to do, I'm like they always suck. And I thought the newer song was like, hey, that actually is not too bad. I actually kind of like the newer song they did there. So I was like, yeah, the musical performances are pretty all right. When it comes to a lot of the other performances here, like Melissa McCarthy's Ursula, I think she does a pretty solid job. I think Javier Bardem is King Triton. I think he's okay. I think he's a little flat in some places. Like he doesn't have like a lot of energy with it. Like I said before I watched the remake, I was watching a little bit of the animated version. It refreshed my memory of it. And King Triton is way more expressive. He's way more bigger in it. But again, you don't want to be just like the animated version. That sometimes I think leads downfall. A lot of these Disney remakes is basically just doing exactly the same thing all the time as the animated version. It's like, well, I'll just watch the animated version if you're going to just do basically a shot for shot remake. And plenty of things here. I mean, they do have similar, basically shot for shot scenes. They do have this, same dialogue, which again, you just can't compare it to the animated version. And I think that's ultimately going to be the downside of a lot of these Disney remakes is like you're just copying scene from scene, dialogue from the animated version, and you're just not going to compare there if you're just trying to just copy and paste. But I do think that there is a little bit more personality here, I think, coming from Haley Bailey, coming from a little bit more of the performances. I know some of the people's complaints when they saw the trailer of it was that it looked really dark, like the scenes where they're underwater and you get to see that. It's not like that in the movie. I mean, the brightness, I feel like they clicked up the brightness a lot on it, and it looked much more clearer in it. Yeah. So, but let me pass it to Dusk here and get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, the first commentary I would say on the CGI is it is not as bad as was initially portrayed. There's still some scenes that go, I don't know about that. But a lot of the underwater scenes are actually a lot more clear to see. They added a lot more color than was originally seen, and that is greatly appreciated. I did appreciate seeing that. I mean, nothing's going to beat the animation of the original and the color schemes, and just the vividness of the original animated. But for what kind of a style they were going for, I thought they did fair enough for the CGI aspect of the underwater. When it comes to the items in the sea, and the animals, when it starts coming to the people, especially like the mermaids, there is a lot of uncanny valley with it. A lot of movement that just doesn't fit right. Especially with King Trident, the way his hair moves, the way his body moves, it's just very off-putting. And it doesn't quite sit right. It doesn't have that flow, that natural flow that the original animated was actually able to do, even through traditional 2D animation. I thought it's just better. As for the songs, yes, they're a bit better than I thought they were going to be, but I mean, the original songs are classics, and even whatever's added new, I thought was just okay and serviceable. I thought the voice work was pretty solid, at least for its attempt. I thought, really, honestly, if you're going to watch this movie, it really is for Haley Bailey. And in it, I do think that while she is the best parts in it, I actually don't think she gets to really show off all the aspects of her character, because she's playing a role that wasn't really built for her in mind. She was cast pretty decently in the role, but I just felt that there was more she could have done. I felt that she was being pulled back a lot. Her expressions, while very kind of quiet, especially when she loses her voice, are solid. There's just nothing about that, especially if you've seen the original, the way the Ariel in the original one expressed herself. It's just so like open and so like very well done that it's just really hard to. You just feel like they're holding back, and that ultimately that's the problem with this one. And that's just the problem with all the live action ones is like seeing the original. You could just see how piece by scene this is copying the other, and in almost every single version, whatever they do in this new one was done better than the original. And it just feels like I'm just watching money burn in front of me and the hours of effort that they went to try and recapture a magic that they already stuck the landing on the first time. It's just, for God's sakes, last year alone, this movie, The Little Mermaid, just got placed into the National Film Registry for preservation. So it's like, and a number of the Disney Renaissance movies have been placed, the original, have been placed in the film registry. And honestly, even with all the performances and the added bits here and there, it just doesn't, I don't know, man. It just made me go, man, I really like the original. I don't know, like everything they've done here, I just felt bad about. The only reason I would say to like, if you're gonna check this movie out, is for Halle Berry. But honestly, you can just find is after wait a couple weeks, you'll find some clips on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of makes sense why the musical scenes are done better here, because this is directed by Rob Marshall. He did Chicago, which was a huge musical. I think Chicago was also nominated for, wasn't it nominated for like Best Picture? I think
it was.
Yeah, so
it was, and it yeah.
Oh, you go ahead. You guys.
No, it was. Go ahead.
Oh, and so I guess that's part of a reason why you'll see some scenes that like I said, that they do a much better job here with the musical scenes than they've done in other kind of Disney remakes, and has more life to them. But like you said, at the end of the day, it's just not going to compare to the animated version. And like when you see some of the scenes, like when they're underwater, like with things like you mentioned King Triton, like with his hair and everything like that, it moving, it's just more expressive. The special effects here, they look okay. Rated M for Immaturity says, like, does it look better than something like an Aquaman? I think so, because in Aquaman, it just was a bukkake of CGI, especially at the end where it was like crab monsters and all these huge armies.
Shark monster.
Yeah, like all this. It's like a just bukkake of CGI. Here, it's not like that. So I think it's better for that sense of that. And like I said, the big standout here is like having a person like Halle Bailey, who, like I said, is a great singer. She's really great to watch her do the music in this. When she does like the classic songs, when she does Part of Your World, which is the classic song. When they do Under the Sea, which I actually kind of liked when they did Under the Sea, which is one of my favorite Disney songs. I was like, oh, okay, I like kind of with the arrangement they did, all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And you mentioned like Halle Bailey as far as her performance of being like kind of held back. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, do you feel like they didn't trust her enough as an actress? Is that what it was, you think?
I really stand on the fact that Halle Bailey is she really does for what she can do. She does the best she can, but I do think that the character Ariel was written for a very particular voice actress at that time. Often when you create art, especially when you're creating like a Disney and a musical, you're writing for a specific performance. And a lot of this movie is regurgitating similar lines, almost the exact same lines, from a 23-year-old script, really old. And so you're going back. So that was written for that character, practiced, rehearsed, used by this character. And what new lines are kind of written for her, you can change some of the tones a bit, but you also have to adhere to that mold that you've presented. And ultimately, like I've been saying from even before when we talked on the trailers, it would have behooved them to have given her just an entirely new role, not Little Mermaid related, give her fresh new IP, and just let her work with the script writers and let her become that role. In this, she has to kind of sandwich herself in a role that wasn't quite made for her, but she's able to stretch a little bit because they write a few things around her. And that's just not going to allow a lot of the creative juices to flow. She's going to do the best she can within the role, but it is a confinement.
Interesting. Yeah. I see your point. Yeah, you could have maybe done something kind of more fresh, more original with her, which I think would have probably been better. Or explored some different aspects of the story,
Yeah,
like Maleficent, which I don't know if that counts as, does that count as a Disney remake? I see that more as like an
it is
adaptation.
not because it's like a reimagining.
Yeah,
I'm more okay with like a Maleficent type movie because I can just go non-canon on that, and that's just an interpretation. It's
yeah.
just a well, whatever. Let's try a different angle and see what we could have gotten. We could have done. They could have even done like a if they really wanted to. Yeah, you could have done like a reimagining of the Danish fairy tale, but we're gonna set it in Greece or wherever in the sea, and we're just gonna completely tell a brand new story or whatever, or do anything else. The problem with this movie is they marketed it as the original, as like a remake of the original. They marketed it as this, and they did like a near beat by beat, but they removed little things here and there, especially when it comes later in the movie with the climax. One of the biggest reasons that tied up that original in a bow, they take away, and that leaves it with a well, then what was the damn point then?
Yeah, I mean, so something like Maleficent, which I did like, what you said is more of like a reimagining of the story of Sleeping Beauty, which they completely just
Yeah,
changed the story from the, it just presented it from the villain's
from the
perspective.
ground up.
Yeah, like if you did something like that here, of like maybe focusing, if you focused on her and her sisters or something like that, and you see that she has all these different sisters, and you have sisters of all different races here. King Triton, he got around. He was having a lot of different baby mamas, I guess.
Well, they say that you say that, but they still refer to mom as just one mom.
Just one.
So all the just one mom having all these different ethnicities, and you're like, that's not how that works. Yeah, they don't say that he had multiple. He said they said he was a faithful man. Said they referred to as Ariel's mom, but they're her sisters. But they all came from the same mom. But they're all different ethnicities.
Maybe they're adopted then. Maybe the rest of them are adopted. Maybe.
Yeah, that's fine too.
But yeah, I mean, so maybe if you explored some different elements of the story, like with the sisters, or maybe you did something more with, King Triton. I don't know. And this movie's longer too than the anime. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
2 hours.
Yeah. Which I was like, yeah, I kind of feel a little bit of that length, it being kind of 2 hours there. To add in something, because with these Disney remakes, they'll add in a little bit of new stuff here and there amongst them basically doing a lot of the same stuff from the original. You also have, of course, with these movies, Disney princess, you got to have a Disney prince. And this is, Prince Eric in this one, who's played by Jonah Horror King. I mean, these Disney princes, I mean, none of them, even in the animated versions, they don't have much of a personality anyway. So it's like they're just kind of just there to be very noble and good and nice and kind and everything like that. Like they don't really have all that much of depth to them. And how did you like them together? Do you think they had good chemistry together?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I really didn't think. I thought they were okay. Again, written for roles, characters, written for different actors or different people at the time. Written for this. They also do some things with Eric's backstory that leave me kind of scratching my head a little bit, going, "But that doesn't have much to do with anything. Why would you do?" They're just doing it just to be different for the sake of it being different. It also kind of takes away from the element. There's also like one big thing that changes the whole context of their scenes together. In the original one, without getting into spoilers, in the original one, the biggest thing for Ariel, she had made a contract with Ursula that she has to kiss the prince for her to then return to meet him, and if she doesn't do it, then she becomes a mermaid again, but she's then belongs to Ursula. So the entire time it's trying to find the right time and the right moment to kiss the girl. And that's her goal. She wants to experience the human world, and she fell in love with Eric, so she wants to be with him. In the newer movie, they do one slight twist that by doing that, it kind of throws that romantic aspect to it out, and and that timer becomes even more like, oh, well, that just completely changes the whole context of all of this, and doesn't, and it kind of ruins the kind of chemistry, because even from the very beginning in that original, Eric has a thing. It's like does seem to be attracted to her and does seem to care about her, and she's definitely interested in him. And so it's more of a like, are we going too fast, or is that kind of mentality? And that actually felt pretty natural in their back and forth. In this, it's a girl who just shows up and she's, oh, I'm just interested in the human world. And so it feels really awkward then for him to be like, and he kind of they treat it like a level of, well, I thought you're the person I thought you were, and I guess you're not. Well, maybe there's more to you than that. And you're like, yeah, but we have like a time limit here, and this doesn't really encroach on this time limit. And this movie is 2 hours, bro. Come on. The original was 80 minutes.
Yeah. What did you think about Melissa McCarthy, Ursula?
You know what? I actually thought she was not bad. She was hamming it up. She was like the only character who knew what kind of movie she was in. She knew this was like a live action Disney remake, and she went for it with Miss Piggy energy, and I gotta respect her for that.
Yeah, I thought she was fine. I mean, comparing it to some of like the other Disney kind of remake villains, again, I think the best one. I mean, the top bar is Idris Elba is the Panther in Jungle Book. I think that's the bar there.
Oh,
He's fantastic, and also even a little bit of like Scarlett Johansson as the Snake and Jungle Book also is very good too. But I think, like you said, she's having a lot of fun with it. She obviously has a lot more, liberty because she's the villain, and people like seeing the big Disney villains, and
she was the start of that big bombastic musical Disney villain who was just the poor unfortunate souls. Like, she's just going for it, and so she's allowed to be way more bombastic.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. I thought that was pretty good. So I thought she did decent. Yeah, I mean, so to get my final thoughts here, is this, if you've seen some of these Disney remakes and you go like they're just soulless cash grabs, is this going to change your mind on that? Probably not. No. Is it on par with being as good as the animated version? No, it's not. Is it just a decent film? I think so. I mean, I know this is a very low bar to clear, but do I think it's better than something like Pinocchio? Yes. Do I think it's better than Mulan? Yes. Peter Pan and Wendy? Yes. Even though the bar is in hell, I do think it is better than those ones. And I do think it is pretty decent for that. But I just say, like, hey, you probably would just be better off probably maybe watching the animated one, but I don't know. I still think you can get some enjoyment out of here because Haley Bailey, her voice is fantastic, and I wouldn't mind hearing these songs again with her singing them. Because every now and then, sometimes I go on a Disney binge and I like hearing some of the Disney songs again, and I wouldn't mind listening to her versions of the songs when she's singing it. I think she is great in that. And Melissa McCarthy, like I said, does a good job as Ursula and does a good villain performance there. And even her being in like live action, like with the octopus kind of legs, the tentacles that she kind of has, that looks kind of more creepier live action than it does animated, I think. So that was kind of something there. So I think she does a decent job. So having said all that, I would give it just I guess this is a big theme for the night, a streaming. This streaming is probably higher than a streaming I gave those other movies like The Mother and what else did we give a stream it to? Dang, I forgot what.
Oh no, we gave skip. You gave a stream it. I gave a skip it.
You gave it to. So it's a little bit of a higher stream it, I think, than we gave some other, at least for me, than I gave some other movies to today. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's just a stream it for me. What about you?
I'm glad you mentioned the music real quick because I'll finish up with that. The original score from the original was done by Alan Menken, who had done many of the original soundtracks from Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Pocahontas, and he won 2 Academy Awards during that time. He also have done many scores and songs, especially from one of my favorite movies, Little Shop of Horrors, 1986. He did Newsies, Hunchback of Notre Dame. He did Hercules, Home on the Range, Enchanted, Tangled, and even later in the most recent Disenchanted, although I thought he was sleepwalking through that one. He didn't bring the same like oomph. And he's come back and done the other one. and he's come back and redone all the live action ones, or tried to, while adding songs here and there. And I'm gonna be honest, without that Alan Menken and the balance with the other composer, it just doesn't work. And I don't know if you've noticed this one, and specifically in this movie and a few of the others, and Beauty and the Beast too, the live action one, not the original. I'm getting really tired of Disney auto-tuning the shit out of the music and the singers. If your singer can't hit those notes, and he or she are not good at singing those notes, get a different singer. Is like a correcting and pitching with a computer does not make it good to listen to. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of an audiophile, so I appreciate a lot of different kinds of music genres, and I can notice when something is pitch shifted, and I notice when things, especially when it's very artificially curbed. And Haley Bailey, throughout most of her songs, especially like Part of This World, I can just hear that auto-tune pitch shifting her down. I'm like, let the dang girl sing. Let her actually sing so I can hear her vocals. I don't need you to do that. The only thing I need you to do in post-processing is just to level it out. I don't need you to curb it. That's when you're mastering a track. You can then level it out. But I'm getting sick and tired of it because it ruins the musical flow. But with that said, yeah, I'm pretty much with you on a lot of your sentiments. Do I think it's a terrible movie? No. I think it's a competently made movie, but I think it's a competently made movie made in vain. Because at the end of the day, it's no better than in the original. And each attempt at these live action ones, I would hope, besides just the money, which is in reality what they're doing, is let's see if we can do better. That would be like stopping at 21 on blackjack and saying, hit me again. You're not going to get any better than the classics you've made. You're just going to lose your hand. So it's a foolish effort even by that measure. And you're right. The bar is low. Is it better than Pinocchio? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar it is. Is it better than Mulan? Yep. It's better than that. Is it better than any of the other ones? Pretty much. Is it better than Jungle Book? No. That's the only one that had any original bone in its body. And at the end of the day, man, no matter how low the bar goes, I just can't go with it, even if it's a decent movie. So for almost the third time today, third or fourth, I'm just gonna have to give it a skip it.
A skip it. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Skip it to. I was debating we're giving it a low rental, low stream it. But honestly, if you're a Disney fan and you already have these movies, you already have the better version. And if you're really that interested in seeing Halle Berry and hearing her sing, Halle Bailey, sorry.
That's a Halle Berry.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying not to do that, and it happens. It happened at the last moment. Go wait a couple weeks. All the songs are going to be on YouTube, and they'll be released by Disney, and they'll have it on their own YouTube channel so you can hear it, and you can get your fill there. Or you'll buy the soundtrack. You don't need to watch this movie for that.
Yeah. Your theater, when you watched it, was it filled with kids or what?
Some of them there's some kids. There are also a few couples, mostly adults. I was actually not that many kids, to be honest. It was mostly a quiet theater. Not many people actually came out.
What time did you see it?
I saw it around 3.
3. I saw my screening was at 11 a.m., like 11, like almost like 12. And I saw it on a Friday today. There was a decent amount of people there, a lot of parents. It was mostly, mothers with their kids, like their daughters and everything. It's mostly like mothers.
Pretty much.
And I don't know. I mean, the kids, they clap afterwards. So I don't know. I mean, if you're a kid and you've never seen the original Little Mermaid, is this going to interest them? I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe it's going to be something for them, and maybe they'll like it. So yeah, a stream it and a skip it for Little Mermaid.